Hey everyone, if you are standing around doing no harm to anyone or anything, do you deserve to die? I think any reasonable, half-thinking person would say no, and they would be correct within the context of any sane viewpoint. However, what if you're standing around and the government tells you to stop loitering? Now, if this happens in the US, it will likely be the state or local police, as there is no actual federal law against loitering, which was a bit shocking to me, as sad as that is. I was actually surprised to learn that the federal government won't imprison you for standing around with no purpose. But that being said, what if you are standing around, no one has complained about you, you have not hurt anyone, and you have not destroyed or stolen any private property, you have done no harm to anyone or anything. Law enforcement comes by to command you to move along, and you insist that as a free individual you should, at the very least, be allowed to exist in the form of simply standing around. If there is a law on the books, you can rest assured you will be arrested. If you do not comply with the arrest, they will forcefully bind you. If you still struggle and perhaps fight back against your aggressor, you will be killed. And let's be clear, it is without a doubt the law enforcement in this scenario who is the aggressor. All you need to do is imagine this scenario without law enforcement in it. It would be a boring story of someone standing around. Once you inject law enforcement into the story, it becomes a tale of survival and bloodshed. This is a sign of bad laws and bad law enforcement. And obviously loitering, which as I said is mostly a state and local level law, but loitering is not the only thing that you can do this with. Obviously, marijuana comes to mind. No one gets hurt when somebody uses marijuana, but once you inject law enforcement into it, it becomes a vile, violent, vitriolic, horrific situation. If law enforcement was not involved in marijuana, dare I say nothing would really happen. It would be a pretty boring thing, and we could all stop talking about marijuana, which is something I would love to do, but the government forces me to talk about it because of the fact that they inject the violence. They are the initiators of the force within the entire marijuana issue. How about eminent domain? This is actually worse than loitering because it is on your supposedly own private property. If you want to simply exist in the house you've paid for or the house you've built, if the government sees fit to elevate their own interests above your right to own your own property, they can seize your property at any time. If you insist that as a supposedly free individual you should be able to maintain ownership of what you worked for, they will come to use violent force on you to extract you from your own home. If you resist this extraction, or if you have the audacity to actually defend yourself from this aggression, you will be killed again. And just as I said with the loitering example, imagine that same scenario without the government, or without law enforcement. It would be a boring story about someone who lived in their house for a long time. There would be nothing to see there. But once you inject government action and government interest into the story, now you have a disturbing tale of absolute government tyranny over an individual that initiated force against no one. So anyway, this is the underhanded way in which government operates. Governments over time have learned that if they keep telling you that you're a free individual that can own your own property and do what you'd like, as long as they spew that rhetoric from time to time, it has a pacifying effect on society at large, and no one cares when they act like jackbooted thugs, quite literally trampling and killing you, and any rights you thought you had. That's all for now. Thanks.